out of that executive order, the one coming down from the president, showing up to a port of entry is the only legal way to seek asylum. And under this order, migrants who are seeking asylum any other way would not be able to when the 7-day average for illegal entries hits 2,500 per day. We have long since hit that average, by the way. The ban would be lifted when that number would drop down to 1,500. Ben Brown with our ABC15 political team joins us live now with more. Ben?
Yeah, and a lot of mixed reaction too, Katie. I spoke to members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, and they all had a similar message. This is a good first step, but there's a lot more that still needs to be done.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do. Take the necessary steps to secure our border.
This will have an immediate effect on helping to establish operational control. Those seeking political asylum should go to ports of entry utilizing the CBP1 app. But people that are trying to get to the border, crossing at locations other than ports of entry under the current system will not be allowed to seek asylum in the United States.
Democratic Congressman Greg Stanton and Ruben Gallego both applauded Biden's decision to take executive action, but also acknowledged there's more to do.
It's insufficient to solve the crisis at the border. It's a good first step. I'm glad they're finally doing it. I've been advocating for something like this for quite a while. But we still need more Border Patrol. We need more asylum judges. We need more customs and police officers. We need more funding.
A similar sentiment echoed by Republican Congressman Juan Ciscomani, who represents Arizona's 6th congressional district.
I'm one to work with anyone that wants to find real solutions for things. And my district wants improvement in policy in here. So we'll take what comes with any kind of step in the right direction, but this falls way short.
It may fall short for some, but a couple of attempts to pass border reform through Congress have failed in recent months.
Doing nothing is not an option. We have to act.
Former President Donald Trump made a similar effort in 2018 to deny migrants who illegally crossed the border asylum, but it was blocked in federal court.
You know, President Biden is just straight up restricting the flow of asylum seekers. It's very similar to what Trump did. It's violating these laws, the Refugee Act of 1980, and just our commitment as a nation to protecting asylum seekers.
As for how big of an impact this could actually have at the border, that remains to be seen.
Apprehensions, illegal entries all go down. This will probably buy the Biden administration a couple month, maybe 3-month reprieve. But I anticipate that this will quickly be enjoined by the district courts. I think it's perfectly legal, but I think it's still going to get enjoined.
Executive order, which is set to go into effect at 9 o'clock Arizona time tonight, would not limit the ability for unaccompanied minors to seek asylum. Also, the ACLU has already made it clear they plan to sue, so expect a legal battle back and forth. Ben Brown, ABC 15, Arizona.
Thank you, Ben. President Biden's executive order focuses on border encounters that happen between ports of entry. ABC 15 data analyst Garrett Archer is taking you inside the numbers on how this order might have impacted the border in previous years if it were in effect.
Migrant encounters are tracked 2 ways by the CBP, at the ports of entry or between the ports, which is not the legal route to declare asylum, but it is by far the more common. We did hit a record with that in December with 250,000 encounters, but looking back a year ago in June, though, it was lower, around 100,000. However, at the ports of entry, they appear to have a maximum processing capacity of about 50,000 migrants a month, a number which they have hit every month since last July. So the executive order halts asylum claims after a 7-day average of 2,500 migrant encounters and can be restarted 2 weeks later if that average drops below 1,500. Now, we don't have the daily data, but what we do have is monthly data, and this is what that looks like since late 2019. Encounters of the impacted groups that have been above that 2,500 threshold since August of 2020, well above, in fact, peaking at 7,600 last December. And there is historic precedent for this average. For 11 years, from 2008 to 2019, the daily average of monthly migrant encounters stayed mostly below that 1,500 encounters a day. So using the data we had, we did a quick estimate of encounters since 2021 had the executive order been in place. If encounters remained around 1,500 a day, it comes out to just over 500,000 a year, 25 2,500 a day is just over 900,000. And if the order had been in place since 2021, encounters would have probably been anywhere between 2.2 million and 3.6 million in total. The actual number of encounters during that entire time, 6.4 million. With a look inside the numbers, I'm Garrett Archer, ABC 15, Arizona.
Thank you, Garrett. Earlier this year, ABC 15 sent a team of journalists, which I was a part of, to the U.S. Mexico border to cover all angles of what's happening there. You can watch our 48 hours on the border coverage anytime on the ABC 15 streaming app, on your TV, or at abc15.com/border.